Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Rui Faria, and we are here with you in our open office. Well, when a couple of months, my team and I decided to go once per month live on YouTube in order to discuss a little bit more deeper into the subjects that we are dealing every day of your concern regarding water treatment and water treatment solutions. Well, the idea initially was to be in our office with our desktop and being able to explain you some of the subjects that we find interesting in the moment that we are discussing them for you. So that is today not different. So I'm here in a beautiful environment, and actually I'm surrounded by the source of the product that Luke in one of our clients explained you so beautiful to say that it's a magic powder. Well, it's I would not go that far. It's not magic. It's just listening to what nature gives us. But before we go deeper into that, I'm just going to present myself a little bit better to you. And I'm just going to ask if my team can give me some feedback regarding the way I'm reaching up on this live to you. So to see if everything is okay, if the sound is coming up okay. So Mariana, if you are willing to give me some feedback, I would appreciate in order to proceed with this live. So if the sound is okay or if the image is also okay. And so, like I said, my name is Rui Faria, and up to my 19th years of age, I always wanted to be a chemist. So I wanted to study chemistry, and I was always fascinated with the way that we as human beings can coordinate, can build things, can undo things, and that is how I grew up until I actually wanted to go into the university. Well, actually, something in me said a different voice or a different command. And nowadays, I do water treatment, managing, and what fascinates me is actually how we can use biology instead of chemistry in order to do what we need to do in order to minimize our footprint on this planet. Now, that is the case of the subject I'm presenting to you today. As you could see already in some of the boa tarde, Bruna. Good afternoon, Bruna. So we're just welcoming the source of the product that we are importing and that we are representing. So it's a great honor and pleasure to have the source of the Tanino, this product that I'm going to explain you a little bit further on. How I got in touch with this company and how this product is transforming many of the solutions that we are now doing on a small scale and experimenting in different parts and in different projects, like you saw the testimonial of Luke that just has a capture water rainwater capture just in a dirt basin, and with all that cloudiness of that water. When I told him that he could use that water and we could treat that water further, he was astonished and he couldn't believe it. So that is how he manifested his gratitude for this product. So behind me, I've got some acacias. So these are species of acacias that are have been imported, so they are not native here from where I'm standing. So basically, look how funny this can be. So centuries ago, some people imported some seeds and some plants of acacia. Basically, the original from these species, they are coming from Australia and also from Tasmania. And they were brought here, especially where I'm standing in the south of Portugal, in order to be used as ornamental trees. So to decorate the garden, but also to settle the dunes. Okay, so the sandbanks that protect or divide the ocean from land. So they were used in order to block the ocean breeze so that the agriculture and the farming could occur. And but the acacias, also called as blackwood, and the scientific name, by the way, so that you can register, is Acacia mearnsi, or Acacia melanoxylon. I have to read it because I don't have it in the tip of my tongue. So they were used in order for decoration, ornamental decoration, but also to do some ocean wind protection. Of course, when you bring some species from a foreign country into a different habitat, sometimes it can be seen as an invasive species. Well, if we do a parallel between the plants and us as human beings, when we go from one specific region into another region, we are sometimes seen as invaders, whether we go to invade and conquer a space, or if we go to a different place and we want to start a living. Well, that's basically what these trees and these species are doing here. They were brought here, and then the law of survival makes it so that they want to grow and regrow and proliferate. Well, not don't we all need to do that? So basically, I have been exported out of Portugal into a different country, so I could have been seen as an invader. So if I would continue there and proliferate and have dozens of children and grandchildren, etc., I could be seen also as an invasive species. Well, this is just to bring a parallelism between what we once bring into a different environment and then afterwards regret or have different feelings about it. Well, that's basically what is happening right now here in Portugal. And why do I bring this up even before I speak about the benefits of the tannin that can be extracted from the shield of the blackwood, the Acacia negra? What is happening at the moment is that some brilliant minds in the agronic university here in Portugal, they wanted to control the proliferation of the acacias here in some parts of the land. So they imported some insects, the Australian vesps, that have a particularity. They only create their nest bubbles in the acacia, in the acacias. So by doing that, they destroy the capacity of the tree to regrow. So basically, this is just to bring a little bit of an awareness to you and some consideration in the future. My question, and I don't have the full knowledge, and I don't know what are the thoughts behind on the mid and long term of this experiment. But what we see here is that the trees are growing right now what I consider as like a cancer or like babbles, like they are developing some, it looks like fruits. And it surprised me because I know acacias for many years and by driving nearby, and suddenly I started seeing things like as big as olives growing on acacias. And I was like, what are these fruits? And then somebody explained me, no, it's not a fruit. It's like a disease that is infiltrated in the acacia on purpose, made by a specific insect in order to destroy the tree, to dry it so that it will just die eventually. So my question is this really the way forward? And okay, this was just a parenthesis in order to bring you some information about the acacias, why we are now so much against it, why we are trying to fight it, and why do I have to import it from Brazil? So basically, this is like the world is crazy. And the reason why I discovered this solution is just simply by listening to your inner voice, in a sense that there must be a more ecological and sustainable solution in order to achieve the goals that we want to achieve. And in my case, it was to create a faster sedimentation or coagulation of suspended solids and suspended parts in order to clear down the sludge into the bottom, and in order to have no chemicals added to the water that we want to use or recycle or use for different purposes. And that is where I started to search what was available. And then this company, SETA, that is based in Brazil with more than 85 years of experience, what they do is they take off the shield of the skin of the blackwood, the acacia negra, the blackwood. And what they do is they do an infusion. Like when you and I do a mint tea or some other tea, and we take the leaves or the blades or whatever the substrate is, and we put it in hot water and we allow it to extract the, in this case, the tannin, so the strength that is inside the skin of the acacia. So they allow it to create like a teapot, a big gigantic teapot, and then afterwards they dry out the wood material and they burn it in order to generate enough heat source to allow to evaporate and to concentrate it into powder. So this is powder that we have now packed it in vacuum so that it can just be easily transported. As you can see, it's all labeled, um, and um, and this way we can minimize the space. So here you see we have acacias here that we are trying to destroy, and we are importing from the other part of the globe already to the ready to go solution. It doesn't make sense to me. But that was just a side turn on this particular subject. So just getting another follow up here from my team, as when I just go in a flow, I sometimes lose track. Okay, it says that my face is a little bit dark because of some shadow. Well, you know me already. It's not about me, it's not about my team, it's about you and what the solutions that we can create for you or co create for you. And like Charles Darwin discovered and traveled all around the world, and his theory of evolution, okay, the theory of evolution of Charles Darwin is that all species they develop and they evaluate and grow from learning, and they have to adapt. So the theory of adaptation by Charles Darwin is that a species that is brought to a different part, or that the climate has changed, they have to adapt themselves in order to survive. Well, that's what we also need to do. And instead of going to the chemistry, and this is why I brought up to you that I wanted to become a chemist, and now I would like to be more seen as a biological supporter of solutions, is because I believe that nature that existed millions of years before we were even thought on this planet, nature existed already. And what we need to do is actually, in my opinion, to take what nature gives us in a more natural way in order to find the best original and authentic solutions in order to do what we need to do. Now, and that is what fascinated me about the product that SETA produced, and that I'm really proud of bringing up to you and presenting in different concepts. So at the moment, as you could see in that testimonial, we are using the tannin to create water that is good for household usage and drinking water with the further treatment that the system has, bacteriologically treatment, after filtration, of course. But the primary treatment from the surface reservoir that you could see is the adequate adjustment of the tannin from the acacia into a compressed clear water reservoir that then afterwards is filtered and disinfected. The other subject, or the other theme where I am now using the tannin, is in biological wastewater treatment and recycling. So when you have a biological aerated treatment system where you have the micro and the macro organisms working together, eating and decomposing the organic matter, and when you transport that biomassa, that activated sludge into the deposit tank where the biomassa has to be separated from the liquid part that goes over for a further treatment or for the discharge in the environment. In that process is where we also are using the tannin in order to get a more clear and a more consolidated sludge that we can then circle back to the head of the treatment station. And what is the advantage on this is that the sludge that is generated there is not going to be toxic for the young population of bacteria that are in the head of the treatment, because this is a 100% biological product that is not interfering chemically with the income of brutto and fresh sludge. So that is another part of this usage that we are now using for this tannin. Also, in recreation lakes, where we have some algae rich environment where the water is green and green and green, and where we can use the tannin, and we are experimenting with that in order to clear out the algae level of the lake. So those are some of the examples where we are using the tannin. Also, another part is that before I got to know this product, I was using a chemical product in order to uplift the pH of borehole water that has a very high level of iron and manganese, and we needed to do a pre-treatment. Well, the pre-treatment means that we needed to upraise the pH level artificially, and then add an oxidant in order to compress and bring down the bigger part of the iron and the manganese, and to convert it into uh, um, sedimented iron and sedimented manganese. Well, at the moment, I'm also using the tannin in order in rather than using the chemical pH raiser, which is sodium hydroxide. In the most of the cases, and in some other cases, we have to use other products, and then an oxidant in order to precipitate it down. So by only using this one single product diluted in water and doing with the dosing pumps as we normally do, we achieve the same or even better results than using the chemicals without having the hazard of having to deal with it as if we would be chemists in a laboratory. So those are the advantages. So I'm very grateful that I got the chance for investing and searching in a different solution in order to compress some water that came out of a borehole with lots of grayish sediments that needed to be compressed down. And by being on search of a solution, I came this company, and we are now importing this solution. And that is why I'm bringing up this content to you, in order for you to understand and to learn that, like we are adapting our solutions with a more ecological, more environmentally safe solutions, so that we don't need to look back and regret some of the attitudes and the actions that we did in the past. So that was the introduction that I wanted to bring up to you, and also to give you a little bit of a spectrum of where we are using the tannin at the moment. Sorry, I'm standing here as you can see, so that's why I'm going up and down. So I'm live here in nature. So I've got the things that help me out underneath here. So once again, this is the magic powder that Luke proudly presented to you. This is the label that we have recreated from with the permit from the supplier, the producer, and all of the technical data are available. So if you have any questions, if you want to know more about how we could apply or if it would be applicable in any of your situations, let us know, and we are here to help you and to bring you the best solutions, and that's my work as a consultant. So in order to bring you in contact with the best solutions. Okay, so this product is used in many ways. So the first is is a product that can be used in industrial water treatment and industrial wastewater treatment in many multiple solutions, from wine production to milk factories to you name it, food industry. They've got a list, an enormous list of food industries where they are using the tannin for different purposes. Also in the wastewater treatment, so not only in the head of the fabrics, but also in what's wasted. The tannin is used in multiple solutions. So I believe that in the last 85 years of experience of this fabric, that they have a tremendous portfolio of uh, solutions, design solutions that we can adapt, like Charles Darwin adapting our evolution into better and more ecological ways. So if you have any questions, please use the chat to bring them forward. And because I'm also using the another source of information for feedback, I'm just going to consult if anything is is okay. Yes. So if there are any questions, feel free to to put them in the chat. And we've got here one question, and says that a question says a natural product that can have the same efficiency as a chemical product. Well, I believe that this as a biological product can be even more efficient than a chemical product in some ways. And the reason why I say that is um, because when we use a chemical product, normally when I go to a pharmacy and I get a chemical pill and I read all of the lists of side effects that sometimes chemical products bring along, then my doubt starts to tingle in the back of my head. And when I confront the usage of the tannin in so many multiple ways, and when I confronted the manufacturer about the side effects of the using of this product, and when the answer was told that the only negative side effect can be the overdosage, because that way you are spending more product than what you initially needed. Well, then I was like, wow, okay, but what about the discharge in the environment? Is there any side effects? And the answer was, in more than 99% of the cases, there are no negative side effects for the environment, as this was just extracted from nature and being brought as like we do a tea. So it's just melting or infuse the tannins, evaporate the liquid, get the concentrated so that it can be transported everywhere in the world, diluted with water, do the proper dosing, and then the result of it is that the tannin is going to react, compress, and the result of that is that the sludge can be dried out, used for fertilization, for instance, or it can be just absorbed by nature. Well, that for me answers the question. So even if the effect the effectiveness of the usage of tannin compared with the other chemical product in the market, even if it would be the same technical result, in order, for instance, in the jar test, if the result would be exactly the same, then I would say that the usage of tannin would be 10 times plus more efficient, because it does not require any detoxification afterwards from a chemical product that has to be treated in a different way, the disposal of it. So thank you for that question. It was a really good question. And well, and we've got here a comment from Bruna Santos from the company Seta, saying that I explained the Tanino very well. Well, I'm flattered, and thank you for your feedback, Bruna. So it's good to have you also on the other side, as well as another part of my team, that is William, that is in the background with all of the graphics and all of the magic that you see happening in our contents. That is thanks to this fantastic team that we have together here for you. Um, so we have another question here that says Maria Simple. Oh, that was a direct answer from Bruna to Mariana that made that question, and the answer from Bruna is that yes, the usage of tannin can even be more efficient than a good coagulant, because it operates as both as a flocculation and an oxidation, and that way we diminish the need of using polymer in order to do the midterm oxidation. So thank you for that technical answer, Bruna. And so, as you can see, well, 85 years of experience is speaks for itself, and I'm really honored to be bringing this up, and that we are using this in different contents. Well, actually, I'm even going a little bit further, because we are going to experiment in a biological wastewater recycling system from gray water that is produced in a hospital. I'm not going to say any names, but it's a project that we are going to do in order to recycle the gray water for irrigation. And in that process, in the pre-last stage of the recycling system, we are going to use tannin in rather than using a flocculant and an oxidant. So we are going to use the tannin also in this experiment. So thank you for that question. There's another question here: is that if the tannin changes the taste, the color, and the smell of the water? Well, from what I could see, sometimes it can change the color of the water if we overdose the quantity of tannin, and that was one of the negative side effects. So if we put more concentration, more quantity of tannin in water, then it will stay a little bit yellowish, because it's like an overkill on the usage of tannin. This is from my experience. Regarding the taste, from what I could experience, it has no direct effect on the taste of the water. Although, if you taste in the tip of your tongue the tannin, it has that natural tannin, the same as when you taste a little bit of red wine and that is rich with tannins. Then you can also taste that it's not so much a bitterness, but it's like when you feel that your tongue is a little bit like touching sandpaper, that kind of sense. And that is when you feel or when you sense with your tongue the tannin, you can sense that. But the after the water is treated, you don't sense it, you don't smell it, and you don't see it, like you saw on the video that we presented to you with the testimonial of Luke. So where he showed both in the hand wash, in the kitchen wash, and in the shower, and also in the pool refill, where you could see that the water is crystal clear, and like he says, it's a magical power. So I hope that this answers your question. So if there's any other question, I'm here for you, with you, and in this case also with Bruno on the other side of the Atlantic Ocean, also giving us some technical support. So it's really nice. So the tannin produces less sludge or residue than the regular traditional chemicals. Well, from what I could experience so far, it results in a more efficient way of bringing down that sludge slash residue. So that means that from my experience, by comparing it with different products that I've been using also in the past, what I can see is that the compacting is much more efficient by the usage of tannin. Plus, there's something that I want to add on this question. Thank you for that question, by the way. As you could see in one of our videos, we used a 400,000 liter tank that was filled up with that brownish water from another open source reservoir. So the water was pumped into that big tank. If you didn't see it yet, well, I invite you to search on our videos and reels where you can see that. And we did a one-time dosing of the tannin, the diluted tannin in that reservoir. Well, that started to do its work. After one day, it was already much clearer, and a couple of days later, they started using that water for irrigation on the fields. Now, the next time that the client needed to pump up the water again, it was um, he asked me if it was needed to do a little bit more tannin. And I said, well, let's first try and see, because some of the residue of the active tannin stays still in the water. So it's still in there. Although it's compressed, the presence is still active. Well, that was also the case. And in that case, they filled up the tank again, and maybe look as right, it's a miraculous, it's a magic powder, because we did not need to do a refill or a redosing in this particular time, and the water was coming crystal clear. So this way, I can see in the experiments that I've been doing in my office and in our workshop, is that once it's compressed, it continues to work and to compress until it's like a very tiny solid skin in the bottom, that when we shake it, it does not melt again. So it stays in a compressed form, and it just needs to settle, but in a different speed, much faster. So that's our experiment and our experience. So if it produces more residue, my answer to you, but I don't have scientific measurements done in the laboratory or backed with technical information that I could support this, but only from my observation, it is more efficient, meaning that we have less need of cleaning the bottom of the sedimentation tank. So thank you for that question. Um, Yes, well, and the scientific or the expert reaction on that from Brune is that they say that from what their clients report to them is that they have up to 30% reduction in the total sludge that they have produced. So imagine that if you have a fabric producing 100 tons a year of sludge, now they are brought back to 70 tons after starting using the tannin. Is this the comparison that I can paraphrase, Brune, in this example? So that means bringing down the costs of the final destiny and the transport, of course. So if you have to bring that sludge into some other treatment system or to recycle, you need to transport. So if you can minimize by 30% that volume, well, you know how to make a economical calculation. Another question is, if I have a system that I've always worked by using chemical products, can I stop using them totally and change for the tannin immediately, or do I need some adaptation period? Well, I don't know what kind of specific case it is, but I'm not a very big fan of first go to the left side and then suddenly turn to the right side. I believe that we have to first identify and do some jar tests, some small experiments, and some comparison. Why is this important? Because not only the usage of the product can be different, but also the way that the machinery that is involved probably needs some adjustment as well. So if you have a machine preparing a dry polymer that needs to be agitated, prepared, condensed, heated or cooled, aerated or not aerated, and you have the whole system dosing the right proportion, well, I believe that in order to do a change, I think that there is a need, not only a recommendation, but a need of doing a professional orientation and a gradual change. Well, what can we do, or what can we suggest is that imagine that you produce, I don't know, 1,000 cubic meters of wastewater every day, and that therefore you have your machine prepared using the flocculant and the oxidant and the some other products. Well, if you want to replace those products for the tannin, well, what I would suggest is to duplicate and create like a test zone with a smaller quantity of the same brutto product and do the same proportional, but using the tannin, and then compare the results. So it's like creating a prototype scale system that can compare in real time with the real affluent that you have before, using feeding both sources, one the conventional way and the other one the tannin, and then see for yourself if it helps, if it's better, if it's more ecological, if it can be more economic for you, not only on the short term but also on the mid and long term, not only on our short sightedness but also on the global effects that by using organic, natural, biological product can have on the midterm, and seeing as a holistic uh, way of approaching this solution. So thank you for that question, Mariana. So I would say, being very honest, don't go like the Clash song "Should I Stay or Should I Go," and stay uh, in the eternal question, but do your tests, get your specifications, your specialized equipment, get some consultancy. We are here to help you, and also with all of the technology and the back and the support of the producers of the tannin, I believe that we are capable of saying yes to a prototype change. So that means that if you have a solution, or if you want to implement a different solution different than the one that you are using at the moment, we are here and full supported with all of the engineering company and all of the engineers that can give us the direct feedback, examples, and bring the solutions up front. So yes, we can change it, but in a gradual way, up to a point that we can say yes, it's tested, verified, and consolidated information. And the way forward is to change, adapt the machinery that we are now using, and go for a different supply. Thank you. So another question is, so is the tannin really a magic power that can resolve problems with more ease and more efficient than the one we were used to use with other chemical products? Well, my answer is yes. And it was not my words that it was a magic power. It was from Luke. And when he was so enthusiastic asking me, can you bring more of the magic power? I was so flattered and with his joy and with his happiness, that I said to him, "Well, are you able to put your own testimonial? I don't want to be involved in that, and just so that more people can get the chance and the opportunity to know about this product, not from me, not from the consultant, not from the supplier, but from somebody that is using it already for now a couple of months, and that he's so enthusiastic about it. Because I believe that we are influenced. Okay, we are influenced by everybody and everywhere. We walk on the streets and we see propaganda, we see advert signs, um, and sometimes we just buy into something that we are just influenced by. And sometimes the seller or the company or the corporation that wants to commercialize and to sell and to bring more product out in the world, um, of course they have their own way of advertising, but when it comes genuinely from the ones that are using it and saying, bring me more of that magic power, I need more of that. Well, then I believe that that speaks for itself. So yeah. So answering your question, in my opinion, yes, it's a magic power. And am I enthusiastic about it? Yes, I am enthusiastic about it. Are there other ways? Yes, there are. I'm not inventing the wheel. Basically, I'm not creating here anything new. I'm just being the link and the bridge between somebody that is doing it already now for more than 85 years and you that don't have this knowledge yet, and where we can be of help introducing you to a different and, in my opinion, a good environmental solution. So yes, don't I'm not afraid of saying yes to a magic power. Mariana is asking also. She says, I'm also wanting to ask Bruna from SETA, SETA, um, is there any myth about the usage of natural products in the water treatment that you would like to clarify? Well, this is now going beyond my life here, but this is why this is an open office for you. So so I don't know if Bruna is still online, and if she's willing or capable of answering this question, then I can translate it for you. So you can answer in Portuguese if you wish, Bruna. So the question is if there is any myth by using natural products in water treatment that you would like to clarify. Well, before Bruna answers that, is from my own experience. And when I fell in love with the biological wastewater treatment solutions that the company where I started working for, that is called Golden Fibra, and Golden Fibra was just started with the implementation in Portugal of small, compact biological anaerobic digesters. That's the technical name, but we called it a fossa biologica, so a biological septic tank. Why biological, and why was this name so beautifully, and why did it echo so much in the back of my mind? Was because it's a biological balance. That means that when we use the water in the shower, in the kitchen, in the toilet, and we flush it down the drains and it goes into this tank, that inside there are different compartments and different ways for the growth of the anaerobic bacteria, and that by a biological balance between the quantity of available food and the quantity of colonies and the diversity of those colonies that develop inside, in order to bring the perfect match between food and organisms to digest that food, well, that was for me a, a click. And when I started commercializing as a salesman, going from north to south, from east to west in Portugal, bringing this to contractors, to builders, to house owners, And when we presented that solution as a compact, closed system, well, not a closed because there's an inlet and an outlet, but a container that could do everything in a compressed unit using only the biology, which is the biology that we evacuate and that we use like soaps, etc. And when some people resisted and said, well, but I don't believe in natural solutions because we also use like chemical shampoos, bleach, and other products in our household. And I said, yes, of course. But the way that the wastewater treatment is dealt in the municipality is also mainly by a biological treatment. So the resistance that I found out in the street may be also something that creates like a myth, saying that the news of a natural product like magic powder is not efficient or cannot be so efficient as a product that is explored, tried out, manufactured in a big laboratory, industrial laboratory. So I believe that there is also always going to be a fight between David and Goliath. So, like the outsider that says, I want to be biological, I want to be vegan, I want to be ecological, eco minded, etc., is always going to be seen as a misfit. But I honestly hope that by bringing up these testimonials, that people can start looking that there are other alternative ways, and that we just have to listen to what nature tells us, and don't see this beautiful species as an invader, but as a helper. Let's see and understand what this beautiful tree can teach us. That's the word. What can it teach us? Because if we nowadays use a stick of cinnamon that we bring from another part of the Indic area of the globe, and we use it to dilute or to bring some flavor into our coffee, and we use that shield, a little bit of the shield, the skin of the cinnamon tree, in order to give some flavor and some aroma to our coffee, why is it now so strange that we take the shield of a beautiful tree in order to minimize the need of a chemical product? So this is just listen. And like Steven Spielberg beautifully put as the last word in his last movie, I don't want to be a spoiler, but I would invite you to listen. Listen to what nature tells us. That's what I'm trying to do and convert myself more and more and more to listen to my inner voice and listen to what nature has to tell me. So let's see what Bruna answered to Mariana. So she says that I believe that the biggest biggest challenge is the lack of knowledge about the advantages and the types of application and usage that that we can do in order to go against what is traditionally used. Although um, although it is a very innovative and natural and safe product, and it is 100% biodegradable, this product has also a very easy appliance, and it maintains the treatment in the water and in the effluents stabilized during the total treatment. Well, that means that what happens here in this process, imagine that this is now the discharge, it continues doing its work further on without having hazards to the environment that is going to receive it. And because it's fully biodegradable, it has no side effects. So I don't have any words extra uh, to add on to this answer. So in the beginning, it can be David and Goliath because the whole industry is used to have these massive chemical products being used Fine, good, great. Is there a better way? Yes, there is. Can we be in contact with a better way? Yes, we can. Are we willing to not create another solution, because solutions are already created, but are we willing to be of service in order to be more in contact with you and with the supplier? Yes, we are, and that's what we do with lots of pleasure. I don't know if we have any more questions, and if not, then I would like to give thanks to all of you that are following this live here in the beautiful environmental place where where the shadow of these acacias is presenting us with sometimes a little bit of a a sun bathe, a sun bath here, and there he is again. So I'm very grateful for being of at service, to be contributing with the joy that I could see and feel the joy of Luke, and not only Luke, but also all the other clients that are using this magic power as a solution. And I'm really grateful. First, I'm grateful for all of the experts and all of the technicians and engineers and all of the team that make this possible. And very shortly, I want to visit the fabric so that all of this process, how this works, etc., that I can be live there, probably with you. So that's a promise to you, Bruna. So in a couple of probably months, I'm intending to pay a visit to you and to be in the fabric, to see, to feel, to speak with all of the people that make this possible. So so that's a very good a very good way of bringing all of the people that don't know this solution yet to be more in contact with the source, with the founders, with the engineers, and all of the stuff that makes it possible. So this live here was kind of like closing up this chapter, as in the previous videos and presentations we've been speaking about these solutions. And what we're going to do is, every time that we will find chance of bringing you some content of the usage of the tannin in real practice, in real case studies, where we are already treating the water with the usage of this solution, we are going to present it to you with a reel, with a story, with some information, so that you can keep up and that you can follow up our work. And if you have any questions that you want to want to bring up directly to the engineering company, feel free, because I can be a channel of information and asking the questions that you would like to have asked. Okay, so thank you for that opportunity also, and I know for sure that I'm going to be very well welcomed there and in the origin of where all of this starts. So thank you all, and I'm going to close up this live now, and I want you to invite you already for our next events. So as you know, we have a double language, Portuguese and English, on Instagram every last Thursday of the month. So that's going to be next week. Next week's Thursday, we're going to be live with you on Instagram. And I don't know yet what the subject will be, because sometimes I have to listen. Okay, I have to listen to what my inner voice or the environment brings up, or the cases that I come across, and that I see that, wow, if this is important for one person, maybe it's really important for a dozen of other persons. So that is my goal, is to bring and to share some knowledge with you. I don't know all of the answers, but I want to know all the questions. And so if you have questions that you don't have answered yet, send a direct message, send an email. You know how to reach us, or follow us on our live events Instagram, and YouTube. Normally on Instagram, I don't do question and answer, um, but once a month minimum we are here in on YouTube so that you can bring directly your questions and we'll try to answer. So thank you once more. Thank you, William. Thank you, Mariana, my great team that we have making all of this possible for you. And a special thank for the team of SETA, and in your behalf, Bruna, a big obrigado to you all, and see you in the next lives.